in terms of agenda for today. The agenda is, well, we're going to be talking about BI 2025 and how to go to BI 2025. That is going to be the key agenda. So the first part is going to be, well, about the key functionalities, the key features of BI 2025. And I'm actually really excited with this new version of BusinessObjects because it's the first time for a long time that I've seen SAP doing a lot of innovations on the business side, because ultimately the value is for the users. So that is really critical. The second part of it is we're going to talk about why you should upgrade and why you should do it now or not. It's up to you. Then after that, we are going to do an upgrade with 360 Suite. And we will follow our 12-step methodology. And then for each step, we'll be discussing about why you should use 360 Suite versus BusinessObjects. And then ultimately, I think there's still actually a few deployments out there that are still in 4.2. So we'll also be discussing if there's some differences on that. So, I've got a first poll right now to launch before we get started, and we'll be sharing the results after. Are you planning to go to BI 2025? Are you planning to go between now and July? Are you planning to go between July and the end of the year, so the end of 2025? Or are you planning to do this in 2026, or you have no plans? So are you planning to go to BI 2025 between now and July and the end of the year in 2026, or you have no plans for that? I think we're gonna, so 52% of people have voted so far. So I think let's close that poll. Okay, here we go. So I don't know if you do see the results on the screen. JF, do you see the results or not, or should I read the results?
I see your agenda.
Okay, so you still see that. So let me share the results.
I see the results.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so well, no surprise on that right now is, I think right now is, 3% of people of the registrants are planning to go there between now and July. So it's a new release, and I understand that it takes some time. 19% are planning to go between July and the end of the year. Most of the audience is actually planning to go in 2026, and then 33% don't have any plans on that. Okay, so well, let's move on. So Jeff, what can you tell us about the top features, functionalities of BI 2025 that we had discussed with Gregory Botticcio? By the way, if you've got some interest, let us know. We've got some past webinars where we discussed about the key functionalities in BI 2025, and SAP is actually putting together right now some videos about some of these key recordings that we'll be sharing about the business value and also how to use these new functionalities. So JF, what can you tell us about the interactive dashboards in Webby?
So that is actually a big improvement, or more an evolution of a trend that was already there. So the dashboards are becoming more and more dynamic. New widgets, new types of visualizations are available there, and there's even a dedicated dashboard spaces. So we're really seeing the functionality between products overlap. And there's also a new feature that is completely new, is the new Web Intelligence extract, the WiiisX format, which allows you to export your dashboards and actually look at them or share them with people who do not have access to Web Intelligence at all. So that is a huge improvement.
So I understand, JF, on that is essentially you will be able to share these reports, these dashboards to anyone, and that will be covered with your current licensing based on the last webinar we did with SAP, and data will be also provided behind the scene so that it can be interactive. Is that correct, JF?
Yes, that's absolutely correct. So as far as sharing, it's no more complicated than sharing a PDF, if you will. It's a totally self-contained, but because it's a web intelligence document, it's interactive, so people can drill down and so on and so forth.
Okay, and tell us about the enhanced collaboration.
Well, again, with that distribution of interactive dashboards, you can really expand the audience for your content, for your documents, and with no extra setup. I mean, it's just built in the product.
Okay. And then I see you've also added two other elements: simplify report creation process and improve BI Launchpad capabilities. What can you tell us about that?
Well, this is more of an evolution than a revolution, but the interface gets simplified with each version, and this one makes no exception. It's becoming more and more user-friendly, easy to use. The data manipulation portion of the product again is enhanced, and likewise the launchpad has been improved. You're able to pin well, KPIs, for examples, and charts directly to your home launchpad tiles. So again, I strongly recommend you watch the webinars that we have done before on the new features of BI 2025. I think it's pretty interesting.
Okay. And I know there's another element where I was fairly impressed was in 4.3, you had all the data prep that was introduced. That was actually fairly interesting, and that, to be frank, was something that was missing in BobJ. And one thing that I've seen in BI 2025 is it is actually a lot easier now to collaborate in terms of the data prep. So in fact, this is also going to be one topic where we're going to provide some videos about the latest functionalities and how to use it. So that will be coming over in the next couple of weeks. Feel free to provide your email and we'll make sure to provide that to you. And if needed, you can always ping me on LinkedIn as well. So in terms of going to BI 2025, I know you've already covered that. Are there any other elements, you want to mention about why people should be going to BI 2025?
Well, there's several reasons, obviously. I mean, we mentioned it already, the new web intelligence, the Wiiisdom format, generally speaking, the improved user experience, not just end users, but developers as well. And then one thing we've not mentioned yet is the real platform reliability. I mean, with each version, there's improvements, simplifications, speed, all of that is getting better with each version. And again, BI 2025 is no exception to that.
Okay. You got some other elements here you want to share about the servers, the database, why people should go there?
Yes, we just said why, but now the how. So in a nutshell, despite the fundamental name change, BI 2025 is just the next BI 4X. Actually, the internal name is BI 4.4, but so in theory, you can do an in-place migration, but just like we did with previous versions, we don't really recommend that. So instead, we recommend performing a side-by-side migration. So in other words, you will install a brand new server that will receive BI 2025, an empty BI 2025 system, and you will migrate the contents from your 4.3 to 4.4. Or I'm sorry, BI 2025. Many reasons for that, right? First of all, you will get a new server. So it's the right time to clean up, get the latest operating system, databases, and so on and so forth. More importantly is the gradual migration. If you try an in-place update, you have to do it all at once. So that means you stop everything, nobody has access to the system, you perform your in-place migration, which update, which could be a problem if not a problem, but more complex if you have multiple servers. And then when everything is ready and tested, only then can you give access to your end users. And that is if everything goes right. As you know, any major operation like that, things can go wrong. So it's very heavy on the user community. Side by side, you just do it gradually, and until you're satisfied that it's working, well, your customers are still working on the old system, and everything is fine.
And I know actually, you probably don't say that, but I think that's cool. Is I know when you've done the upgrade, you've actually tried both methods, and actually you were not successful doing in place versus side by side. Is that correct, JF?
That's right. I mean, every existing installation has its quirks, and the in-place upgrade sometimes just plain doesn't work, which was my case. I had to revert. I mean, it was for a test system, so I didn't care about everything I just said before, but I was forced to do a fresh install instead.
And anyway, that's always a debate, side by side or in place. And frankly, I mean, over the years, we've supported like honestly thousands of migrations with time, and we've been doing this for 17 years. And there's always one thing that we can definitely recommend is just never do in place. Always do side by side. It's always a lower risk approach than doing it in place. So. JF, I see some questions in. I see a question from Kevin, and I'm not sure if you've got the answer on that. And perhaps we can take it on, on the side. But we are a hospital with the WIDX files. Can they be emailed outside of our organization, and all the patient data would still be there if it was built that way?
That is correct. So the Wiiisdom contains the data that is relevant to the document. Of course, you can filter that, but yes, you would actually be sending data out.
Okay, and I guess obviously you can manage the security, but Kevin, if you wish, we will get back to you. I'm going to forward this question actually to SAP and to get you a more formal answer on that. Before we go into the steps, I am interested actually for the audience, and we'll be sharing the results, is to know which BobJ version you're on right now. Are you on a version, I hope that is not before 4.2? Are you in 4.2, 4.3 SP1 to SP3, 4.3 SP4, or you have no clue? So I see the poll is in progress. People are answering. So the first question is, okay, are you on what BobJ version are you? And before 4.2, I hope not. 4.2, 4.3 SP1 to SP3, 4.3 SP4, no data. What is your best guess on that, JF? And don't cheat, don't look at the results, because you can see the results. So what's your best guess?
I would say that 50% in 4.3, 25% in 4.2. Yeah, roughly. I mean, I know it doesn't balance, but
We see a lot of customers, in fact, that are, definitely in 4.3. It's very unusual to see customers that are in 4.2, first of all. And, most of the time as we see them, they are in SP4, which is not unusual. So here are the results of the polls. So, well, fortunately, nobody answered before 4.2. It happens occasionally, but so there is 4.2, 4.3 SP1 to SP3, 33%. Most people are in 4.3 SP4. And then 2% of people don't have any idea. So I'll check with your admin on that, and I hope he knows. So, by the way, I've got a question for you, JF.
Yes, sir.
In terms of versions, is there a path to, so is there a path to go from 4.2 to BI 2025? And like there's a path from 4.3 to BI 2025?
Yeah, so 4.3, no question. I mean, we'll talk about the prerequisites, but yes, yeah, there's a direct path. And even 4.2, I believe you have to be at SP6 or above of 4.2. I would have to verify my sources. But if that's the case, yes, you have a direct upgrade path from 4.2 to BI 2025.
Awesome. And that was a question for Raj that had a question on that. Then there's a question as well for Suresh, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce your first name. Don't you think within place we don't have to put extra time effort with configuration?
Well, with in place, well, yes. Again, you will have a higher risk level, so there will be more work. More configuration, well, not really, but you want to clean up your system very well before you do that.
There is a question from Phil. Is there a conversion fee for the new license key for BI 2025? Meaning when we moved from XI to 4.x, there was a big license conversion fee.
Bruno, I don't know what information you have about
I'm
that,
not
but as
aware
far as
on that.
As far as I know, there's no fee. I mean, it's covered by your maintenance or subscription.
And Phil will circle on that, but as far as I know, it's just you just need to get a new key. Is that correct, Jeff?
You do need a key, yes, but again, unless you have a very special contract with SAP, it should be just straightforward.
Okay. And yeah, to go back on the side-by-side versus in place, frankly speaking, just don't do it in place. You're just taking a risk. If something goes wrong, like you won't be able to roll back, you'll be stuck with that, especially if you don't have a Wiiisdom 360 suite. So we've seen in the past customers they had to roll back, and it's never a fun part. I've actually seen that, for example, in 4.1, 4.2, and even some 4.3 versions. So I think it's not a good idea to do things in place. Anyway, do as you want, but that is our recommendation. Okay, so these are the 12 steps for a successful migration to BI 2025. So over the years, we've put together a methodology to do upgrades, migrations, and we've actually updated this for BI 2025, and we've got in the document that we shared initially, or the QR code, in fact, it is extremely detailed. So you've got what we presented today and actually even some more in there. Jeff, so before we dive in on the backup, how long or how complicated was it? Can you share some insights? Is there anything you want to share on that about the process of going to BI 2025? What was needed? What was your experience, Jeff?
It was surprisingly easy, and well, disclaimer, I was using the right tools for that, but I didn't see major issues. Well, having said that, and we'll talk about it in the different steps, there are a few things that change in BI 2025, more specifically things that are deprecated and that you have to take care before your migration. But other than that, if you follow the process like we suggest here, actually recommend, it should not be a major issue. I didn't see obvious problems.
And like in terms of process, did it take you a day, an hour? How long was that process just to get installed?
The installation itself is very fast. It's no different from previous versions of Business Objects. I would say it took elapsed time. Of course, there's a period where you have nothing to do but watch the paint dry, but I would say about 3 hours for the physical installation of the product with the client tools, etc., etc.
Okay,
Basic
so
configuration.
that's pretty good on that. Anything else you want to share about the installation, JF, to the audience?
Nothing specific. Just make sure you have a clean, empty environment with as I said, the latest databases and all of that. Take that opportunity to do a cleanup of your environment, and we will talk about the business objects environment itself as part of our steps.
Okay. Well, so the first thing is, as in any upgrade migration, what we always say, and we're very consistent on that, is backup, backup, backup. I wish it's too late when you think about I wish. So have a solid backup. So here we're going to talk about the Wiiisdom 360 Suite backup, but well, tell me, how does it work in BobJ?
Well, the simple answer is it does not. What you can do, in fact, is back up your system database and your file repository. And to do it properly, you would have to shut down your business object system while you do that. So kind of a cumbersome thing, and I'm not going to start about the restore yet. If you want to restore the whole thing, that's not really a problem. But if you're looking, to restore portions, like a lost folder or something like that, it becomes a huge nightmare. I will have to have a spare system, and it's extremely complex.
And
But
anyone that has actually had to restore in the past knows, the issues there in BobJ and why 360 Suite matters. Hey, I've got Jean-Michel here that says, so Jean-Michel apparently didn't answer the last poll, so I have to say that is, if you migrate from version 4 or 5 of BO, what intermediate step? So I'm just curious, are you talking about the super old version or an SP, Jean-Michel? Would you have any answers for that? Jeff?
So very old versions of business objects, if that's really the case, which I doubt that would be very old. You would have to jump through intermediate releases. So yeah, that that would be quite an enterprise. But if you're talking service packs, there's really nothing special. They're all compatible. As I said, started for 4.2, I believe SP6.
Okay. We also have a comment here saying, obviously they've upgraded. They're saying, for us, it was very straightforward to upgrade and there was no extra fees. That's from Surish. One question that we have here is BI 2025 is a SaaS product or just an on-prem replacements of 4.2 and 4.3? You want to take it, or should I take that one, JF?
I can take it. Very simply, it's just the next version. So it's on-prem, just like you have today.
Okay. Yeah, so essentially, sometimes you might hear about PCE. So PCE, in fact, is just business object that is handled by SAP on a hyperscaler, but it is not it's not a SaaS version. It's still the same on-prem version than business object. So it's essentially a business object is still an on-prem solution, of course, that you can deploy on the cloud. Okay, so let's we've got a question from Kevin Davidson on the install. Did you encounter the customary prerequisite restart server before the actual install would continue? Did you need to disable firewalls prior to the installation? Interesting question.
So those are two separate questions, actually. The restart, if you have ever done a business objects install in the, since probably 4.1, you will have to restart your server, and it's actually indicated by the installer itself. You will have a message that says, hey, you need to restart before I can continue. And that hasn't changed. It's still the same thing. So if you have some watchers in your system, be prepared for restarts to be required.
Let's take two more questions and let's dive in, because we'll be taking more questions during the event. Venkata has a question. What is the normal upgrade time from 4.3 to BI 2025? I think you've somewhat covered that before. If you want to put a word on that, JF.
Yes, well, how long is a piece of string, right? It really depends on the size of your system. The upgrade itself, the software, as I already said, is about I would say 3 hours. I didn't really measure it. Everything else really depends on the size and complexity of your system. So I don't really have an answer for that.
And then Jean Michel is saying first migrate to, so I think he's on version 4 or 5, but yeah, definitely you need to use the other migration paths in terms of the version, and then you will need to do a stop in 4.2 or 4.3 to go to BI 2025. We're not aware of any path before 4.2 on that. And last question from Jay, would still Webby Rich clients be available in BI 2025? I don't know the answer on that.
As far as I know, yes. I don't want to be too affirmative because I didn't check, to be honest, but I believe I've seen it, so yes.
Okay. Hey, so in terms of backup, so yeah, we know it is very complicated to do this with BobJ. And in terms of a 360, what are the main advantages of doing the backup with Wiiisdom 360 suite?
First of all, you have multiple options. The same solution allows you to do the type of restore I mentioned earlier. The full restore of the entire system in case of a disaster. But what's more important is that it allows you to restore individual objects. Let me see if I can show you that.
Do you want to share your screen, Jeff?
Let me. Okay, show screen. Doesn't seem. Presenter. Okay. Okay, so I will show my screen. What do you see?
Nice trees there, Jeff?
Pardon me?
Some trees in a mountain.
So that's the wrong screen. Okay.
Yeah, it's by default it goes to your main screen, so you need to show screen number 2 or whatever from there. So.
Okay. Do you see 360
yes.
Suite?
Yep, we do. We do.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. So very quickly, this is what it looks like. So in 360, you can navigate all the contents of business objects, not unlike what you would do in the central management console. And if I go, for example, to public folders, I can select a particular folder. I'll right click on it and I say manage backups. And so what you see here is different backups of that folder that were taken over time. And if I want to restore them, I can replace or even duplicate. I can do a side-by-side restore. And of course, I can include the subfolders, the documents, and if they have instances, I can do that. Okay, so that's for a full folder. And as you would imagine, I can go to individual objects like this one, and I can do exactly the same thing. So what's interesting too is that we can restore all sorts of objects, not just documents or universes. But for example, here I have inboxes, business objects inboxes, and I have the same feature available here. So we can help our users, favorites folders, and pretty much everything else in business objects is accessible that way.
Okay. Okay, then in terms of the second step, we covered it all with the step step number one. So for the step number two, here it's all about documentation, if I'm correct. Why is it important to document all the objects, Jeff?
Well, because, for several reasons. First of all, you want to know what you're going to migrate, so that's pretty trivial. But also that will allow you to do pre-migration cleanup, which we'll address in a later step. So you get a baseline, you can see how far you are, because again, we're doing a side-by-side migration and probably a gradual migration. You will be able to monitor what's going on. You'll be able to see what's used, what's not used, what needs to be migrated, what can be left behind.
Okay. And what are the limitations in BobJ that you typically see?
Well, there's really no such reporting mechanism in business objects. The first thing is that you don't really have a tool to see the non-usage of documents. To an extent, you could see the usage using the audit database, writing your own universe or whatnot. But non-usage, seeing what documents are not used, well, it's simply not there. It's not. It doesn't give you anything.
And we got a question from Bhupen who's asking, what is the recommended spec for server CPU and memory OS version?
I don't have a straight answer to that, but what I can say is that it's eminently comparable to what you have in 4.3. I would have to look at the specs from SAP, but I don't expect a major difference there.
And then there's another comment from Harold here about data services. Will there be a support SAP data services with BI 2025? And actually, there will be. Typically data services is always a little bit behind, so that data services behind the scene is using some components of business objects. So traditionally, there's always a little bit of a lag between versions. If I recall, last time in 4.3, I think the lag was about 6 months. I'm not sure 100%, but that's what I recall. So I wouldn't be surprised that there will be some lag. To say how long, frankly speaking, I don't know. So so in terms of BI 2025, well, the first part is you need to be BI 2025 ready. And by curiosity on that is, I'm curious to know if people still have got some UNVs, because this is definitely one of the prereqs. So today is, have you repointed your UNV to UNX for BI 2025? Yes, no idea, no plan. So obviously, when you do this, you definitely need to convert your universes from UNV to UNX. After that, you need to do the repointing, which is fairly manual. And then, of course, you need to validate that. So anyway, I think I still see some people coming in and answering the polls. So JF, what is your guess? I see the result. But I'm actually surprised.
I would guess, no, I'm not cheating. I would guess 30% of no. And I'm not counting the no ideas or no plans, but yeah, 30% of people not quite ready.
Okay, well, let's close this poll and see the results and share the results. I'm actually surprised by that. So 42% of people have done the job, 44% have not. So let me actually tell you something is, when we talk to our customers, most of our customers today, or for most part anyway, are already in UNX. And one of the reasons behind is people are afraid that if you think about Log4j, well, you were forced to do an upgrade. And essentially, a lot of our customers today are in UNX. They have done that work. And the reason is they're afraid that if there's any issues in Object that forces them to upgrade, well, if you haven't done the work to go to UNX, well, you will have a serious security issue behind. So it's better to do this sooner than later. I guarantee you that. So this is based on our discussions with customers. What can you say about, okay, so you need to convert your UNV. What can you say about multi-source universes? Because this is really critical and people need to make sure that they select the right universe.
Yes. So what changes? First of all, UNVs are not supported, period. I see a question. They will not work. Actually, they will, if somehow you get them through for an in-place upgrade, for example, they will be marked as not supported. UNXs, multi-source UNXs are also deprecated. That means not supported. As a matter of fact, I had a migration crash because I still had a multi-source there. So what that means is that when you create, or you created in 4.3 and before, UNX, you had the option of making them multi-source, which meant you could have more than one connection, a database connection in your universe. So that is also deprecated and not supported in BI 2025. The good news is that we are able to convert the multi-source universes that have a single connection. If you actually have multiple connections, then of course there will be a need to redesign the whole thing.
In terms of repoint, so there's a question from Bet as on what does not support mean. Would UNV still work with BI 2025? Well, yeah, you still have some time, Bet, but the main thing is UNVs will not be working in BI 2025. So
that is correct.
You will not be able to upgrade without that. Is that correct?
And
or it won't work? I think to be more.
It simply will not work. You cannot have UNVs in BI 2025. And to answer Jean-Michel, yes, same thing. You have to migrate your UNVs to UNX before migrating.
A question from Madhu, whether 360 Suite offers 100% automation of converting MSU to SSU. Also, the reports are created on MSU.
So you will have the same paradigm as for UNVs to UNX. That is, it will be a creation of a new universe, so you will have to do the repointing. So yes, we offer 100% automation of converting multi-source universe to single source, with the caveat that if they actually have multiple connections, well, as you can imagine, there's nothing we can do there because it's a matter of redesign of your solution.
Well, there we've got some ways that we can still help with that. So there's some methodologies that we've done with customers. And Madhu, so that you know, this is something unique to 360 Suite. In fact, SAP came to us, so we've done an innovation here again where we are able to do these conversions. So if they are single connection, and we are able to manage also if there are multiple connections on that. And in terms of unsupported content, so what is the content that is not supported with the BI 2025? So we spoke about UNV, UNX, multi-source UNX, but also there are some formats that are not supported. Is that correct, JF?
Absolutely, and you see a list here on the screen. Lumira Discovery is gone. Crystal for Enterprise is abandoned, as well as Analysis for OLAP and Live Office.
Mm-hmm.
And that you have to find an alternate solution. Crystal, for example, can be converted to Crystal Classic or Web Intelligence.
And Crystal, when we mentioned that, only Crystal Classic is supported. with BI 2025. And Venkata has a question. Any plans from SAP from UNX multi-data sources down the line, or they will not support? They will not be supporting that. So that has been made very clear. So yeah, there is absolutely no plans to do that, Venkata, unfortunately. We got a question from Rupa. Once UNV is converted to UNX, Webby reports data source needs to be reported to UNX.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. Again, we have a solution to do that in bulk. Actually, several different ways. So it's really painless.
What does Srish has got another question? What was most of the users' reaction or feedback with the MSU not support? I mean, to be fair, Srish's people were not very happy because I think a lot of people have invested in MSU, and actually the feedback was, I think, not good. What have you heard, JF, on that?
Obviously, people who do use, excuse me, the multi-source universes, that is with multiple connections, we're obviously not happy. Having said that, why did SAP abandon that solution? It's precisely because it is not widespread or used by many customers. So yeah, people were not happy, but most people didn't really care.
Well, I mean, but the people using it really cared, and
Yes.
they've innovated using it, and there was a lot of value. So I personally think it's kind of a shame not to be supporting, but I get it. But I can understand the frustration. Bet is asking, what about reports using UNV and need conversion to UNX? Does 360 offer a solution? Yeah, we offer a solution to convert your universes in bulk, also to do the reporting that's extremely time consuming in bulk. And of course, most importantly as well is to be doing the validation, because sometimes things go sideways.
And
Okay,
I will add quickly that we can document which documents are using UNVs, because that is definitely not obvious in business objects.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see the promotion towards in BobJ about how you've done that. So let's move on with the slides, but I'm really curious to see that after that. And I see comments on that. So, well, tell us about the step number 3 about the cleanup. So first of all, how would you do this in business objects without Wiiisdom? How would you do that, JF? Is this possible? I guess you can delete in BobJ. So how does that work?
You can. In business objects, your first problem will be to identify what is not used, what is obsolete, and that we covered in a previous step. But once you have identified that, it's going to be hard to perform in business objects, because your only real option is to delete or maybe move to different folders. But it becomes very cumbersome and complex very quickly. We offer 3 options to, let's say, make content disappear that we no longer need. The first option, and perhaps the first step in some ways, is to use our pseudo-archival system. And basically what that will do is simply make the item disappear, make it invisible and inaccessible to everybody except our administrators. That is a very quick solution, and also it allows quickly to make the object visible if it was hidden by mistake. We can archive outside of business objects. In that case, we will use a format that is considered perennial, like PDF or Excel. We can expect them to be always available, and avoid proprietary formats like Web Intelligence, for example. And then finally, once we're satisfied, we can delete from the platform in bulk, using our solutions. Wish I had time to elaborate on that, but it's really easy to do. And keep in mind, you still have your 360 backups as well if worse comes to worse.
So yeah, so there are a lot of limitations involved, and the reason why it is really important to do the cleanup is typically it is very common to see deployments that have 60, 70% or more of content that has not been used. So here, like, it's not possible in BobJ to easily locate what has not been used. You can sort of do it manually, but it's not very effective. And we're able to enrich the metadata and find out who's not connecting, what content has not been used in the past 13 months. And the reason it matters is, well, if you're able to pseudo archive or archive that content, essentially you're going to save a lot of time in your migration because it's going to be proportional. I mean, if you're able, think about it, if you're able to save 50% of your content, well, you'll have 50% less content to be migrating, 50% less of content to be converting to UNX, repointing, and of course testing that is quite long as well. So it is really critical to do a cleanup on that and to do the archiving. So and we always recommend first to do the pseudo archiving, then the archiving, and eventually to do the cleanup on that. We got a question: are there any known major issues with the BI 2025? I mean, I think that's more for the audience, but obviously based on the result polls that we had earlier, nobody really is on BI 2025. So I'll be curious to see if there is any comments on that. Jeff, have you seen any issues with BI 2025 or not?
So far, so good. Have not seen or heard anything in particular.
Yeah, and right now is Rupa, is most customers that are using BI 2025 is they're just testing it at this time, so it's really at the early stage. So I'm assuming, to be fair, there'll be some issues at first, and they'll, things will get better with time. So. And as always, just make sure you test on that. So to move on as well, before we show an actual promotion, an actual migration, it's also very critical to create a baseline of what you are going to convert. Why is that important, JF?
For several reasons, but the main one is to be able to validate your migration. So what we will do is run an image, if you will, of the situation in, 4.3 in our example. And so that once we have done our migration, we are going to do something exactly similar in BI 2025 and compare the two, and that will reveal any discrepancies that happened during the migration.
Okay, then in terms of baseline as well, are you able to do any, because this is for the regression testing, are you able to do this in BobJ?
Not really. The only practical thing you can do in business objects is save instances of your documents manually, that is, and then do a manual comparison, which human factor, and plus it's really not easy to do. It's not very reliable. So yes, you can, but you can't really.
By the way, we got a questions from Gunnar saying how many people have registered, are participating. So we've got 300 or over 350 people that have registered. And on a poll, typically we've got, I can see the last poll was 58% of people have actually voted Gunnar. Okay. Okay, now I think this is really the critical time is about the migration. So can you show us, Jeff, what you've done in terms of migration, how you've done that,
Of
and
course.
here, how you do this with 360, how you do that with Business Object. I know that's always one of the critical parts, in all these migration projects is how do you handle that?
Okay, let me switch to be the presenter. I will show a screen, and I believe this should be the correct one. You should see the central management console of business objects here.
We don't see your trees, so that's good, yeah. So I was actually going to ask you, how does the CMC look in BI 2025? Does it look any different or not than 4.3?
It does not really. I mean, as usual, there will be one or two icons that change, but essentially it's the same thing.
So you're not
And
lost with it, right?
not at all, not at all. And the Launchpad, essentially looks the same with, improvements notwithstanding.
Can you show the Launchpad before we get in, just to see how it looks, and for people who haven't seen it? So it's
Sure.
Fiori as well.
So this is loading. So classic welcome page, nothing really special. Same navigation and everything. And I don't know why this is annoying me. See, little glitches, version 0.0, right? But anyway, yeah. So going back to, you asked me, how would you do it in business objects? Well, you would use the promotion management. And if you've ever used the promotion management, you know that, well, it kind of works. It's pretty heavy, and it's inflexible. The problem with the promotion management is that it will try to do everything in one big batch, and that hurts.
And can
Plus
you
the
show us a little
interface.
bit before going to 360 how
Sure.
the promotion management looks like, just to show the audience on that? I mean, I know the value of doing it with 360 because we've been doing that forever, but if you can just show a little more on that, I think that would be.
Yeah. So you have to create a new job here, select your source, log in into one system and the other. Okay, and then you would log into your destination system, or in many cases, just output to a file. I will cheat a little bit and save to a file to save some time. But let's pretend it's live. And then here you have to select your different components and add them to the so add, and then you navigate, and you see it can be pretty slow at times. You can navigate to your users and so on and so forth. So once you have added all that, oh great, good start. Anyway, let me add objects again. Hope it works this time.
No effect.
Yeah. Okay, this is a little bit better. And then you can run the promotion. And this is here where it becomes a problem, because it will try to put everything in one big block and attempt to promote that. And that is where the problems start usually. It's very, very slow, and when it breaks, you have to start over with everything.
And is it handling the dependencies? Is this the reason why you've got some issues with that?
You can select the dependencies, and in many cases it will work, but again, the problem is that it inflates. the size of your migration, and that's where it typically breaks. But I would say that by and large it works. It's just cumbersome and a lot of trial and error.
And Kevin, we got actually several times the same question is, can't you also use the upgrade wizard? Does that still come with the install of a BI 2025 JF?
I'll be honest with you, I have not tried to look at the upgrade wizard. I would expect it to be there. I can give it a try, and I'll take a look as soon as we're done with this. No, wrong one. And so we'll see that. But I have not tried it in BI 2025. So, but let's see if it exists. And yeah, I see the promotion management wizard. It's here. So yes, it still exists.
And I'm expecting anyway, it's going to be the same issues than what we've seen in 4.3 on that. So in terms of promotion as well, what is the difference between doing it here with Bobjet and then doing it with Wiiisdom 360 Suite JF?
The fundamental difference is that we work at individual object level. So instead of trying to build a huge batch of everything, we compile the list, and each object is transferred, let's say individually, for lack of a better term. And what that means in turn is that, number one, it can be processed in parallel. We don't have to wait for that big glob to be processed. And second, it's much lighter on the system because we're transmitting only small files at a time, and that will improve response time and execution time considerably.
Hey, we've got a comment from Anne who's mentioning the method that is being shown by JF is more auditable and easy to roll back.
That is true. Thank you, Anne, for that comment. Let me show you here. Where am I? Okay. So I'm connecting between two business objects environments. So I have my 4.2 and my 4.3. I have created a migration task here, and here's our interface. It's going to be CMS to CMS. We specify which ones we are going to use and the actions to do. One thing that is worth mentioning is that we offer the Delta promotion, and that is also a big thing here, in the sense that if you are, as we suppose most people will do, migrating gradually, you may have changes that happen in your source environment that you need to convey to your new BI 2025 environment. The Delta promotion will promote only what has changed or has been added on your source system, and will leave everything else alone. So we have selected what we want to transfer here. I have a folder and a universe folder. I can specify details, whether or not I want security, whether or not I want sub-content. I will not select UNV universes because we're going to BI 2025. But if you use it between other system, that's fine too. No, that's not. Help. There we go. And so we will just next. You can specify notifications, by the way. You can be notified when it starts and whatnot. So if I go back to the job that I prepared, I will just run it. So I will find it here. I can see the log interactively, which is extremely valuable. And it's processing the folder. I can see the progress of the migration as it runs. And then eventually it will go to the finished stage and it was successful. And now if I go to the central management console, I can see that my new folder is here. And if I went to Universes, they would be there too. As a matter of fact, you may like this. Universes list. See here, I attempted to transport a U and V here, and it says clearly unsupported to answer a question that we had earlier.
Anne is mentioning apologies, grayed out in my version, so I'm assuming she's a Wiiisdom 360 customers. So which additional component licenses required for this?
Correct. It's part of the module that we call 360 Plus. That is the backups and the promotion.
So Jeff, you were showing earlier the delta. So in BobJ, do you have any delta promotion?
Not that I'm aware of, no. You can only promote what you have there, and if you need to do delta, you have to do it by hand.
So the value there is like all these migrations, they take time, and just correct me if I'm wrong, but the advantage to have like a delta promotion here is, well, your environment is living during your upgrade, and here you're going to essentially you're going to update only whatever has been updated. Is that correct?
Yes, and more importantly, it's going to be done automatically. Before 360 promotion, we had to tell users keep track of what you changed, keep track of what you modified, transmit that to the administrator. I mean, it was impossible to manage. Here, you just don't care, just rerun the promotion, and it will only promote what needs to be promoted.
And here, what I often hear from customers is Wiiisdom's promotion simply works, where we've seen a lot of customers that have got large amount of objects to move. And frankly speaking, there are always a lot of dependencies. And once you try 360, essentially it's like a promotion train. When you're moving, it's just taking object by object and it's moving them, it's promoting them from one version to another in a very reliable way. And this is what is so unique about 360. If you've tried the promotion management before in BobJ, I'm sure you'll understand that if you start to move large amount of content there on that. So there was a comment from Ronaldo saying, great demo, it's awesome, thank you very much. And Anne will need to talk to you, on what you're licensed for. If you got the suite, you probably have Plus behind the scenes. So yeah. So Jeff, in terms of promotion, is there anything else you want to show here? Are there any questions from the audience on that?
Yeah, I don't see any questions on that. But yeah, as far as the promotion goes, I mean, it's straightforward. There's really not a lot to show. It just works, and that's the beauty of it.
Before we go to the validation, let's launch another poll. Would you like to receive, it's multiple choices type of answers, the BI 2025 roadmap from SAP. So we'd be more than happy to share that with you. Tutorial about how to build Webby dashboards with the BI 2025. A tutorial about Wiiisdom, about how to leverage it and how to build them. The BI 2025 checklist, or the Wiiisdom 12-step migration methodology. So would you like to receive the BI 2025 roadmap from SAP, a tutorial about how to build Webby dashboards, how to manage and create Wiiisdom BI 2025 checklist, and then Wiiisdom migration methodology. Well, let's close this poll right now. And let's actually see the results for that. So most of the people here on would like to get the roadmap, how to build a Webby dashboard. So the second part here,
Bruno,
yes?
sorry to interrupt. Are you sure you're sharing your screen? As a presenter, I cannot assess that.
Looks like no, I believe I am. I think it's because you're still in a presenter mode, Jeff. So probably just stay in the presenter mode on that. But essentially, most people also want to know how to build Webby dashboards. So as soon as we have that recording ready, so as the WIDX, we will share that with you. It's not going to happen now. Just give us probably about 2 weeks or so. But we will be sharing the BI 2025 roadmap as a follow-up, and then the same as the checklist as well. So, okay. So in terms of the validation, JF, what can you tell us about validation? So perhaps I can share my screen here. Just give me 1 second. Hold on, I'm trying to share my screen here. Okay. You see my screen or not?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So here in terms of validation, what can you tell us about the importance of validating your dashboards and your metadata? How does that work?
It's essential. It's critical because you cannot ever be sure that a migration worked well. There are things that change from one version to another, and can you still hear me, Bruno?
I can still hear you, Jeff. No problem at all.
I've misplaced my my webinar. Yes, so it's essential. It's crucial because from one version to another, certain behaviors can change and will change, and validating the migration is absolutely essential in that respect.
And today in BobJ, how would you validate your migration? So versus with Wiiisdom on that.
Well, it's a manual process. You would have to ensure that, as we discussed before, right? You have a previous copy execution of your reports, and then you would have to, I don't know, print them or compare them side by side on 2 different screens. We've actually way back in the day done that with a customer who hired, I don't know, 8 people who spend their day comparing documents. It's just not practical.
In fact, that's how our CEO started. He used to be a consultant working for a large oil and gas company before he started the company. And he would do all the upgrades, all the IT work. And actually, one of the most painful work was actually where he would always say the story where he would do all the regression testing. He would print the documents. And then he was typically working in the basement at the time, unfortunately. And then he would have access to the conference room on the top floor, and then use the light just to compare, to do side-by-side comparisons of the reports. And essentially here is what you need to keep in mind is migrations like that are IT migrations. So it is very important to minimize the impact as much as possible to your business. And the first thing, trust me, that people will see is it doesn't open, and you know what? It was actually it was accurate before it was correct, and now it's not correct anymore. So that's why it is very important to always validate the migration. And it's actually so important that, as you all know, we started on business objects, and then we're also now supporting through analytics governance, Tableau and Power BI on the top of it. So, and one of the fundamental factors is to ensure at all time that your reporting is always validated, that it's accurate. And JF, I know we're also able to validate performance. Do you typically see some impact when you do some of these regression testing? Does it matter?
Well, it does. It does matter, of course. Performance is important, and that varies a lot because if we're in the context of side-by-side migration, you start on new hardware or virtual hardware, new databases, new everything. So all of that has a potential impact on performance, hopefully improvement. So yes, differences definitely. Are they big? It really depends.
And additionally, are you know, what type of comparison are you able to do in terms of metadata? Are you able to compare like the security, the object counts? Is that possible?
Yes, so there are two ways to do the comparison. One is through our module we call 360i. So we have a bunch of reports that will give us all that information that you mentioned before, and that obviously is very important. But also we have a regression testing solution that will do a bit by bit comparison between the before and after version of documents, including graphical comparison. If a chart has moved, if the data has changed, all of that will be captured. So 2 levels for that.
I've got a question, you know, going to the next step from Jean Michel saying, very important during a migration, do not lose the object's ID. What do you think of that, Jeff?
Very good point. So the object ID is specific to one environment. It can change from one environment to the next. So during your migration, the object ID, that is the number, can change. On the other hand, the CUID is unique across all environments. So if an object has CUID ABCD in 4.3, it will have CUID ABCD in BI 2025.
And he's got another comment here. Well, is it more work of the dev team to test reports after the migration? Well, here, essentially, as we've mentioned before, is you have to take a baseline, because if not, you're not going to know what to compare it to. So always take a baseline before, because after, if you don't have it, you've got actually no point of comparison through time. So next step is fix impacted objects. So what can you tell us about that, JF? I see time's flying, so yeah.
A lot of things, actually. I wish we had another half hour. So you may discover during your regression testing that some things have changed across the board. For example, a formula, a function in the business objects variables has changed, does not behave the same way, the syntax has changed. So you have to fix that, and you have to fix that in a lot of documents. So what we do is basically list all the documents that contain a variable that has that particular function, that particular syntax, and identify them that way. Once we have done that, we can use another feature of the 360 suite that will do bulk replaces of those documents that are affected, and basically fix the formula. And of course, after that, you will have to do a regression testing again to make sure that it was done properly.
And how do you do that today in BobJ? So without the Wiiisdom?
The challenge is that you have no tool to identify which documents are impacted. And once you do, one way or another, you have to edit those documents one by one manually and fix the
formula. Well, let's move on to the next one, is in terms of performance. So by the way, do you see during some of these upgrades, do you see any impact on performance in general based on your experience, JF? And what?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no. As I described earlier, the fact that you switch from one environment to the other has an impact on performance. In many cases, the software is that is business objects is improved. So, but it's not systematic. So there could be improvement, there could be degradation in performance. It really depends on the particular situation.
Okay, so no recommendation on that. It's just what you're saying is just a case by case, and you're expecting no changes to that.
Absolutely, which of course does not preclude optimizing what you have, even independently of the migration. And that's what you have on your slide here, right? Unused objects, we can identify them using 360 Suite. We can see what objects are never used in a universe, also which ones are not used in a document. We can single out reports that have long running queries or that have high volumes and a large number of columns or rows, and perhaps optimize that. Same thing with scheduled reports. We can identify the ones that take a long time, and we can change the method of distribution to use what we call single pass bursting to improve runtime and server load.
Let's take another question, launch the last poll at the same time. So would you like to engage with Wiiisdom? So like one or multiple to do a BI 2025 assessment, do a UNV to UNX, or to perform a cleanup and archiving. So do you want to engage with Wiiisdom for a BI 2025 assessment, UNV to UNX, or cleanup and archiving? While people are answering on that, is we have a question from Kevin. With the new Webby dashboarding features, how has it now caught up with what Tableau features have? Are you trying to make it choice not between Webby dashboarding and Tableau? Do you have any answer to that, JF, or not?
It's a complex question. I cannot vouch for the intentions of SAP in the long run, but each version has more features, dashboard-like features, and definitely there's emphasis on this one here. So, are they trying to compete directly with Tableau or Power BI? That would be a strategic question to ask SAP. But in fact, yes, there are more and more features that are similar to those solutions. Has it caught up? I would say maybe not yet, but I'm not the best qualified to answer that.
So I think it's like, there are different solutions. I mean, there's some part where they've got some similarities, but essentially I think BobJ Primary is a reporting solution with unique scheduling capabilities. That is really something very specific to BobJ, where, yeah, definitely Tableau is more data discovery solution. However, there are some functionalities or some parts that are in the middle. And most customers, from what we hear very often, if they have BobJ today, is in terms of dashboarding, you can actually do quite a bit in BobJ today. And with the BI 2025, based on the demos that we've done in the past of BI 2025, is there are a lot of things you can do now very easily with business objects. In fact, one of our customers last time, Videotron, was talking about it, saying, with BI 2025, we can probably, they're also a Tableau shop, and then they were essentially saying, well, we can probably use more dashboarding with BobJ, and we don't necessarily need to go full speed to Tableau or to Power BI with it. There's also a cost factor, where I was talking with a federal entity about 2 weeks ago, and they were saying, well, we're under a lot of cost pressure right now, as you can always imagine. And they were saying, well, we're looking at whatever's the the most effective solution. And what they were saying is today is they were factoring the licensing cost and also the query cost and the cost of support. And they're saying in their case that Bobjet was actually significantly lower into that. So I guess that depends of every customer is probably a little bit different into that. So okay, so Jeff, in terms of step 11 out of 12, so in terms of a backup and DR, so what are your recommendations there? So that's more from your experience as a consultant. What do you recommend customers? Because I know you told me stories before where you had support customers in the past that said, hey, I've got a disaster recovery solution, but finally when they had some issues, I remember specifically 2 cases that you mentioned and things didn't work out. So what do you recommend there? And what's the RTO and the MTD?
Right. So recommendation-wise, what we see, unfortunately, in the wild, if I may say so, is customers copying virtual machines in the hopes that they can use that for recovery. Unfortunately, if you copy a VM that has a corrupted business object system, well, you will restore a corrupted business object system. So that doesn't work well. Another solution is, as I mentioned earlier, backing up your CMS and FRS, but that needs to be done in a way that causes downtime and again, not very practical. Plus, restoring is really a headache. Yes, you're going to say something.
And definitely on a VM where a VM is not a disaster and recovery strategy, even if you've got multiple images or so. If you need to roll back to past version, if you get hacked, like you'll never know which version to roll back if you can go to a version that that is old enough into it. So it's not a solution, and it's always important that you determine what your recovery time objective is. So how long you need to recover, how much actually also amount of content you're willing to lose. That's also critical. And to understand what actually is critical and for how long should it be down. So these are typically the 3 common metrics we have on that. And just to finish on that is what would you recommend in terms of putting in place a maintenance strategy with BI 2025? So what would you do once you've completed all that that upgrade, that migration?
Well, you want to keep an eye on your system, obviously, because many things can cause degradation of performance. You need to keep it up to date, keep it lean, keep it high performance, keep it efficient. Have rules, methodology, procedures to archive and clean up as you go. It's a living system, things become obsolete, new things come in. So if you don't clean, you hamper your performance. Also everything you archive, keep a format that will be reasonably still there in the future. Another reason. Go ahead.
That's a good point, because I know we had some discussions with multiple customers saying, hey, you know what, we're going to archive in WIT format, and then we're saying that is not a good idea because tomorrow you don't know if Webby will be supported, and then when you're going to open it, there's actually a chance that it's going to refresh, so it's not an option on that. So you should always do this in PDF or Excel, and then put it on a warm site where essentially is read many and write once, where it goes only one way, and also factor in that that content might be very sensitive and you probably should be using passwords on the top of that. I definitely recommend that. So password and in a readable format. So this is something that is extremely important, and also it follows some of the NIST standards on the top of that. And it's the same thing as you should keep the last snapshots of your regression test, because If you have an upgrade, you need to have a point of reference into it. What can you tell us about CI/CD, JF?
Well, it falls under the same umbrella. Keep snapshots of your content, so that if you have continuous development, you can verify that there is no regression as you put something in production. So that's a very important support piece for CI/CD.
So here you can use automation to reduce the operational maintenance costs with 360, because most of all the updates that you'll do in BobJ, they're extremely manual, one by one. Whereas with 360, it's either fully automated or you can do it in bulk, and you can use external schedulers as well. You can leverage the metadata on the top of it to save a lot of time. To go over, one of the questions when we prepared is, what if you're still in 4.2? So how would you manage, the upgrades from 4.2 to BI 2025 as the last slide of the presentation?
Yes, with a typo, that's a good way to finish. Yes, you can go directly from 4.2, provided you are, and I believe, I need to confirm that, but I think it's SP6 that makes it compatible upwards. And of course, provided that you have all the prerequisites and there are no UNVs and not UNCs, Crystal for Enterprise, and so on and so forth, which we discussed earlier. But other than that, same process. No big difference.
Okay. Well, folks, thank you very much. And we appreciate to be all with you today to talk about BI 2025 upgrade. We will be sharing with you a link to the webinar of today, documentation about BI 2025. And then for the questions that we couldn't take, we'll do our best also to take them offline and get back to you. Again, thank you very much. Be cool, stay cool, and check wiiisdom.com. So W3I's, WIIISDOM.com. And again, thank you very much. And to our customers, thank you for your business. We appreciate that. And well, looking forward to see you for the next event. JF, thank you very much. Take good care,
Thank you,
folks.
Bruno.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.